is awesome.
And normally we just invite ourselves and stuff.
This is the thing. See, so this event is not AA or NA or Smart Recovery or Life Ring or Refuge. It is all of the above. It is all inclusive. This is about people that are recovering from active addiction and also, of course, the mental health issues, which I can't really speak on other than my drug-induced
psychosis,
mental health issues, you know. So, I don't, you know, we don't recruit. And this is a hard thing too. Like the first year we had, because, you know, with NA, a lot of people are like, you know, they're coming out here and it's NA, or the A's are like, it's AA,
right, yeah.
And it's really not. It's really a path to recovery, and this is an event where all people are invited. So,
and we're celebrating life.
Yeah, we're not so telling people that they can't recruit, and that's what a lot of people want to do. Even celebrate recovery people. When, like last year, we had a lot of celebrate here. I don't know why that didn't happen again this year, but a lot of them at first were like, they came out, they were going to, when they gave their lead, you know, kind of push.
Yeah.
You know,
and
that's okay, but it's not okay. So we're not trying to push. We're not trying to recruit. We're just celebrating life right now. You know, so many people die all year long to addiction. And we just want to celebrate the minute, you know, we had this life. We're, you know, like earlier today, 3%. 3% of us that seek, you know, and that's probably not even what seeks treatment. That's probably just the overall, you know.
3%
that survive. Everybody else,
recover and
jail, institution, or death.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I look back, like in my journey in recovery, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think Uriah kind of probably agrees with me. You know, like I do a lot of AA, he does a lot of NA, he does some AA. I occasionally pop into an NA meeting. We do this Smart Recovery thing together, and really Smart Recovery got started. We had to do that kind of in trade of our training for the CCAR training, but to be like early on, you know, like just a year plus in recovery and be like, hey, you got to do something non-12 step. And I'm like, what do you mean? There's stuff that's non-12 step. Like both of us are like, what are you talking about? You know?
Yeah.
But it does, to me, it creates this like greater foundation for my recovery and keeps me open-minded that there are like pathways to recovery, and then the end goal is to have a life and live it. And, you know, and it's just like,
yeah, that's crazy.
You know, and go ahead.
One of the things that, because we did our training together, and so I think that I'm pretty open-minded, right? I get to this recovery coach training and I realize about 3 days into it that I'm not so open-minded. I was like I guess you could say a 12-step Nazi. I didn't even really know it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, there's only one way, and this is the way, and it's really not.
Yeah, I know. We're having dinner and we're like, what do they mean you have to blah, 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 meet them where they're at? Or they're in recovery when they say they are. Like, what does that mean? And like,
yeah, what the hell? You know? But, so it opened my eyes and opened my heart to different pathways and everything. So, you know, we've done Smart here in Berrien now, and we've done Life Ring here. The Life Ring didn't really take off like we wanted it to, so that kind of fizzled out. But basically, it's like this. If it can, I was told in a 12-step meeting that if I put 50% in to my recovery that I put into going out and finding dope, then I'd be doing all right. So I'm like, fuck 50%. I'm 120. You know, I'm gonna chase this shit like I chase dope. And so I do. So if I'm getting something out of it, it's benefiting me and helping me with my recovery, because my recovery is number one. I don't have anything in my life that I have today. I don't have any of it without it. If I go out and get high, I've just thrown away everything. My kids, my healthy relationships, my jobs, my everything I got going. Forget it. It might take a minute, but that shit's going to the wayside, because I'm a self-destructor once I'm indulging in the, you know, extracurricular activities, you know. So
it's not good things.
I know this.
So did you find that when you were uncomfortable, were those the times you were using, or are you more the type of, man, I just liked that feeling and I liked,
oh man,
chasing
so
beauty?
I was and it's so grimy to say this, but I was a garden variety junkie. So, and I didn't, I woke up today was a good enough reason. I had a good day. I had a bad day. I had a great week at work. I had a bad day or week at work. Whatever. It didn't matter. I did it no matter what. It was like, of course, in the beginning it was to be social, opened me up, got me out of my shell, or made me more upfront and forward with the females, whatever, But ultimately, when it boiled down to it, it didn't matter. It didn't matter what was happening, how things were going. I was using. That was it. I couldn't live without using.
So women pretty much is what I heard. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Go ahead,
Well, that's
bring
good
it,
that you heard
it.
that, because
Megan.
in my discovery this time around, because I was chronic with relapsing, what I realized is that just as much as drugs were the problem for me, females were also the problem for me, and so they were very much like a drug also. And I had to learn a lot about boundaries, and instead of just focusing on. There's a point in my life where I thought, if I take away the drinking and the doping, then everything's going to be great, because that's the problem. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was this multiple personality thing going on in my brain, and not wanting to face my shit.
Yeah. So there was mental stuff that went along with it, big time. And for me, it was too. What about you?
Just all of the above. When young, I had friends. They, smoked weed, they drank, and I didn't want anything to do with it. I hung out with them, and it was cool, and it was fine. But then some shit happened, and I just didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do with my emotions, with my fears, sadness, pain, and all that stuff. And so that's like when I was like, I'm gonna try this, and I'm gonna do this and stuff, and and so I ran with it, But it was the same thing. Like, I'm having a good day, I'm gonna drink. I have a bad day, I'm really gonna drink. And drug. And I went through my fair share of drugs and all that stuff too. And in the end, it was just, this is what I do. It's like I didn't have to be happy or sad or have a bad day or a good day. It was like, it's whatever time, and I'm getting off work. How much beer's at home? And that was the conversation I'd have. I'd pick up the phone, call my boyfriend. I wouldn't even say, hi, how was your day? I was like, how much beer we got? What do you mean you drank my IPA? It's like, fine, I'll stop and get more. You better not drink it. Drink your PB. And that was how I started that. Like, I got off of work moment. That last year or so of drinking, and it became so habitual, and so like I didn't know what to do if I wasn't doing it. And I didn't know how to be without it. And so just ran. I ran with it, and then it ran away with me.
It's a slippery slope too. But I started doing it because it was fun. It felt good, and it was fun. The kids were doing it, and it was fun, and and then just overnight, it wasn't because it was fun. It's because that's what I do.
Yep.
And I go. That's and then it becomes part of your routine. I leave work, I go right to the liquor store. Then I go home. I leave work, go to the liquor store, go home. You do that so many times, and you go to the liquor store and you're like, I don't even have any money today. Like, I got to go back and get some pop bottles or find some bottles to take back so I can get a couple $, so I can give me the bottle, and it feels good not to have to do that anymore.
Right,
man.
I agree.
It really does. And if you're listening now, maybe you're in recovery, you probably know exactly what we're talking about. If you're in active addiction, hey, welcome to the podcast, man. Like, there is a better life, and
For sure.
it's nothing but fun and inspiration, baby. That's how I look at it. I mean, we can call it work and stuff. Oh, it's going to be hard work, and it's going to be horrible, and you're going to feel things. It's going to suck.
At first, it's kind of a rough go when you're first getting cleaned up. But once you get through that rough patch,
It's fun.
I'll put it like this: it's a hell of a lot easier staying clean, sober, than it is getting clean or sober. For me, anyway, that's for sure.
And Megan, if you weren't clean today, you wouldn't have been able to come here.
There's a lot of things I wouldn't be doing and wouldn't have if I wasn't clean today, and that's the thing is I can't so this is kind of exciting. If my math is correct,
Sounds like it.
in 8 days I'm going to have 4 years.
Get outta
so
here.
It'll be so my sobriety date is September 29th, 2015. Just a few months behind Uriah there.
Well, all right.
But, yeah, you know, so I can't, you know, seeing where I was, you know, that 4 years ago. Sorry, just like my brain. Sorry, I just like had this flashback. But you know,
right.
knowing where
it
I
might
was,
come back to you.
right?
Mike Tyson over there.
Where I was. Wait, what's the date today?
Today's the 21st.
The 21st. Yeah. So yeah, because no, it was 4 years ago tomorrow that I got arrested. That like had my thing. Like I can't do this anymore. That's where my head went. But anyway, so you know, just knowing where I was like 4 years ago, I can't imagine like how bad it would have kept continuing to get. Like my brain can't even like comprehend like where maybe like I would be today if I hadn't made the changes that I had, you know, had made. And to, you know, you know, so life is better than it's ever been. But it's like I even think about how I feel today on the inside, and I feel better than I did when I was a kid before I even picked up a drink, you know,
right.
Before like life happened. I know how to live better today. But you know, there's just so much you learn in recovery that it's almost like, you know, I can look at another like person in recovery. I can look at Uriah and say, man, you know, we're kind of lucky this happened to us because there's shit that excuse my language, I don't know if that's okay. But, you know, there's stuff we've gotten a chance to learn that you don't learn, you know, and apply to your life if you haven't gone this, you know, had to go through and you know, and come into, you know, what recovery gives you. So I look, it's one of those things, you know, you get to a certain point, you look back and say, hey, as much as that sucked, it's been a blessing to be able to have the stuff come to me that makes me who I get to be today, you know. So
when someone tells you, and maybe you haven't, I've never relapsed. You've relapsed, haven't you?
I've heard that. I couldn't imagine. I mean, and they say relapse isn't part of recovery, but it can be, and it is for a lot of people. But for me, myself, relapse absolutely was part of my recovery. I couldn't. So I'll put it like this. So I discover drinking and using drugs, right? And it's fucking wonderful, all right? I love it. It's great, all right? So for years I do this thing that I think that I love and I think is great. And then I stop. And I'm like, this is kind of better. You know, so now I'm weighing my pros and cons, right? So now I'm not drinking and I'm not doping and I'm thinking, man, maybe this is better. But I wasn't sure. Well, how do I know if I'm sure? I got to go back and taste the waters again and put myself right back into that miserable, painful, long-term bullshit. And then I realized, you know, and then it took me, so the last time that I went back out, it was about 2.5 years of absolute horrible drug use. And I'd switched, my drug of choice went from methamphetamine to heroin and crack, which, of course, the courts told me was crazy. How do you do that? And I'm like, well, I don't know, but I did it. And so I got where I got with the meth. Took about 8 years to get to where I was with that. And, you know, putting that down in itself was a miracle. But then I turned around and picked up this other shit. It took me 2 years, roughly, to get to where I was in 8 with the meth. And the last probably year, this is what screwed up. The last probably year, I would use with people, my using friends, I guess you could call it, which there aren't too many of those in the opiate scene. You know, you're not going out. It's not like going and smoking a joint with a group of people. You're not going to go share all your heroin with everybody that you know. It just doesn't work like that. And so I would do it, and then I'd be like, man, you guys, this ain't living. This isn't what it's about. This is stupid. And of course their ears are turned off because I just sat there and got high with them. Ain't nobody hearing what I'm saying, but it's in my head. And so I call this Kermit, all right? So on the other side of the state, over around Memphis, Michigan, there's rehab, Sacred Heart, not like the one here, it's a little bit better. And they had this Recharge Sunday where people that are alumni come into there and they talk. They pretty much head up the Sunday. They lead the meetings. They do big speaker meetings in the middle of the day and stuff. It's great. One of those guys' name is Kermit, and he told me when I was in there that he was going to ruin my next buzz, and he damn sure ruined my next buzz because he was in my head. And he ruined many more than just my next buzz. For a long time, he was in my head. And so when I would say this isn't the life. I've experienced a better life than this. This isn't living. He would often be in my head, and I'd be hearing his lead again inside my head. But